The administration maintains the position that this individual who was deported to El Salvador and will not be returning to our country was a member of the brutal and vicious MS-13 gang.
What happens when sanctuary city policies transform your neighborhood into a safe haven for MS-13 gang members? Maryland residents just got their answer when ICE agents finally arrested a validated gang criminal whose extensive rap sheet should have kept him locked up years ago. Instead, local catch-and-release policies turned him into a permanent threat, cycling through arrests with zero consequences until federal agents said, "Enough." Watch until the end to see the shocking evidence of how sanctuary policies endangered families, and why this ICE operation represents the end of Maryland's catch-and-release nightmare. Before we continue, be sure to hit the subscribe button because that fuels all the effort that goes into these videos. Let's break it down. How ICE ended Maryland's MS-13 revolving door, and why this arrest exposes the deadly flaw in sanctuary city policies. While Maryland politicians protected their sanctuary policies, federal agents were building an airtight case against a repeat MS-13 offender. On May 12, 2025, ICE Baltimore made a critical arrest in Gaithersburg, Maryland, apprehending 26-year-old Nelson Vladimir Amaya Benitez, a Salvadoran national and validated member of MS-13, a gang that has been designated as a foreign terrorist organization by federal authorities. This wasn't Amaya Benitez's first encounter with American law enforcement. He had been previously removed from the United States after illegally crossing the border, only to return and continue his criminal activities across Maryland communities. According to federal officials, he had been breaking the law for nearly a decade, since first illegally entering the U.S. in 2016. What made this arrest particularly significant was that it represented the culmination of years of failed enforcement opportunities. ICE had lodged 5 separate detainers against Amaya Benitez, following various arrests by local authorities in Montgomery and Prince George's counties. None of these detainers were honored, meaning that local authorities released him back into Maryland communities each time, despite his known gang affiliation and growing rap sheet. The arrest was coordinated by ICE Enforcement and Removal Operations, ERO Baltimore, whose acting field office director Nikita Baker didn't mince words about the threat Amaya Benitez posed to public safety. The arrest of this criminal alien MS-13 gang member is yet another stark reminder of the dangers posed when our immigration laws are not enforced. This individual, who had previously been removed from the United States, re-entered illegally and repeatedly jeopardized the safety of our Maryland communities. But it wasn't just ICE officials who recognized the significance of this arrest. The Department of Homeland Security described it as a significant arrest that highlighted the consequences of sanctuary policies that prevent cooperation between local and federal authorities on immigration enforcement. This wasn't just one arrest. This was a pattern of failure that turned Maryland communities into MS-13 hunting grounds. Amaya Benitez's criminal history reads like a textbook example of how sanctuary policies can create a revolving door for dangerous offenders. The pattern began in February 2016, when Amaya Benitez first illegally entered the United States and was apprehended by Border Patrol near Hidalgo, Texas. Rather than being removed immediately, he was served with a notice to appear but released. Later that same year, he was arrested by the Irving Police Department in Texas for possession of marijuana. He served 36 days in confinement following his conviction. By October 2016, he was arrested again, this time for unauthorized use of a vehicle and evading arrest. He would eventually be convicted of these charges in November 2018 and sentenced to 90 days in confinement. ICE lodged an immigration detainer, but the cycle of catch and release was just beginning. In May 2017, Amaya Benitez escalated to more serious crimes, being arrested in Montgomery County, Maryland for armed robbery. ICE immediately lodged a detainer with the Montgomery County Detention Center, but once again, local authorities released him despite the federal request to hold him. He was eventually convicted of robbery and sentenced to 10 years in prison, with all but 18 months suspended. Finally, in August 2019, a judge ordered Amaya Benitez deported, and he was removed to El Salvador. But the story didn't end there. He illegally re-entered the United States at an unknown date and location, resuming his criminal activities in Maryland. What followed was a string of arrests across Montgomery and Prince George's counties, charges of theft, rogue and vagabond, unauthorized use of vehicles, removal of serial numbers, conspiracy theft, malicious second-degree burning, and more. Following each arrest, ICE would lodge a detainer requesting that local authorities hold him for federal immigration officers, and each time, these detainers were ignored due to sanctuary policies. By the time of his final arrest in May 2025, Amaya Benitez had accumulated an extensive criminal record spanning nearly a decade, with charges ranging from minor theft to armed robbery and destruction of property. His pattern of escalating criminal behavior and repeated releases due to sanctuary policies had created a significant threat to Maryland communities. ICE just proved that when sanctuary politicians fail to protect communities, federal agents will step in to finish the job. The arrest of Amaya Benitez represents more than just the removal of one criminal from Maryland streets. It exposes a fundamental flaw in sanctuary policies that prioritize protecting illegal immigrants over public safety. The federal intervention became necessary precisely because local authorities had repeatedly failed to cooperate with immigration enforcement. Despite knowing Amaya Benitez was a validated MS-13 gang member, despite his extensive criminal history, and despite his previous deportation, sanctuary policies prevented the kind of cooperation that could have removed him from American communities years earlier. This represents a broader pattern seen in sanctuary jurisdictions across the country. When local authorities refuse to honor immigration detainers, they create safe havens for criminal organizations like MS-13 to operate. These policies effectively transform American communities into recruiting grounds and operational bases for transnational criminal organizations. The strategic significance of ICE's intervention cannot be overstated. By building a comprehensive case against Amaya Benitez and pursuing his arrest despite local obstacles, federal authorities demonstrated their commitment to public safety over political policies. The message to other MS-13 members exploiting sanctuary jurisdictions is clear. Federal reach extends everywhere, regardless of local sanctuary protections. ICE's enforcement strategy reveals how federal agents must now build cases independently of local authorities in sanctuary jurisdictions, developing intelligence networks and surveillance operations that bypass the traditional cooperation models. This represents an unfortunate but necessary adaptation to the reality of sanctuary policies. Department of Homeland Security. Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin highlighted the frustration of federal officials with this situation. For nearly a decade, Nelson Vladimir Amaya Benitez, a serial criminal and known MS-13 gang member, has wreaked havoc across American communities. Outrageously, ICE detainers on this criminal illegal alien were not honored 5 times. Local authorities repeatedly released this public safety threat back onto Maryland's streets. The arrest also sends a powerful deterrent message to other criminal organizations that might view sanctuary jurisdictions as safe operating bases. Despite local political obstacles, federal authorities maintain the capability and determination to identify, track, and apprehend dangerous criminals regardless of sanctuary protections. Most importantly, this federal intervention has made Maryland communities safer. By removing a validated MS-13 gang member with a pattern of escalating criminal behavior, ICE has potentially prevented future victims and disrupted gang operations in the area. The operation demonstrates that despite political barriers, federal authorities